morning. My name is Jessica Tangeman, and I'd like to welcome you to the 2022 Hackster Impact Summit. We are live streaming from Microsoft Reactor here in San Francisco and very excited to bring you a full 2-day schedule of sessions. Okay, so let's get started. So the concept of Hackster Impact came to life back in 2017. The Hackster platform was growing. A lot of projects were being published on the site that were sustainability focused, and many of them had the ability to act as an open source blueprint for anyone in their community to pick up, build, and deploy locally. So we got to thinking that we could use our unique opportunity to use our platform as a vehicle to accelerate the tech for good narrative. We wanted to connect developers to resources and technologies with our industry partners and provide companies the opportunity to showcase the work that they're doing. So in 2020, we partnered with the United Nations to launch the COVID-19 Detect and Protect contest. Some of you might have remembered that or even participated in it yourselves. We wanted to ask engineers to build low-cost, easily replicable open source projects that could be deployed anywhere in the world to help communities in their fight against COVID-19. And we had over 350 projects submitted. We took the top projects from that contest and identified a few of our Hackster ambassadors around the globe, shipped them laser cutters and 3D printers and the components necessary to build those top contest projects, host hackathons locally, work with their local health centers, and then deploy those solutions in their own communities. 6 months later, we partnered with our friends at Smart Parks to launch the Elephant Edge initiative. With the incredible support of all of our industry partners, Smart Parks and IRNAS designed and manufactured 10 elephant tracking collars and a fleet of ranger devices to help park rangers better monitor and get on-demand alerts about wildlife in their park. The first collar was actually deployed earlier this year in Zimbabwe, and the following 9 deployed will start working with parks later this year to deploy those, using technology to make an impact in the world of sustainability. So today, we carry on the Hackster Impact legacy to inspire our local and global community to continue to innovate where technology can make the biggest impact. The next 2 days are packed with workshops, technology demos, panel discussions, and project spotlights from our partners, friends, and all of our community members, all targeting air and water sustainability around the globe. So I wanted to give a big thank you to our sponsors for their support of this year's Hackster Impact Summit: Nordic Semiconductor, Microsoft, AMD Xilinx, Seed Studio, Edge Impulse, Microchip, and all of our incredible supporting partners for helping us promote. With that, let us get started. It is an incredible honor to introduce our keynote, Sarah Maston. I can think of no better person to set the tone of this year's summit. Sarah is an inventor of things, a mastermind on the theory, the networks, and the intricacies of bringing something inspirational to life. She is the Director of Global Partner Development at Microsoft. You may know her as the founder of Project 15 from Microsoft, an initiative to accelerate animal conservation and the Project 15 open platform for conservation and ecological sustainability solutions. She's had many accomplishments in her 20 years in the industry, including winning the Microsoft Polaris Award for the invention of Project Edison. Some of you guys remember that. A safety notification solution accelerator for safe schools and workplaces. And she was awarded an Outstanding Innovation Award for Developer Advocacy Innovation and an Eminence and Excellence Award for the invention of the nutrition graph. And she won the Blue Unicorn Innovation Contest at IBM, which from what I hear is a pretty incredible feat. Welcome to the stage, Sarah.
Hi, Jessica. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. All right. Now we watch the part where I try to share my screen in front of people, which anyway, I'm so happy to be here. So shall I do that now?
Yes, let's go.
All right, here we go. All right, so I'm really happy to be here today. As you may know in the introduction, we've done a lot of work with Hackster.io in the area of conservation. A lot of hackathons that have been really impactful with Microsoft, and various just amazing things that you're going to find out throughout the day. But today I wanted to talk to you and kick off around how you can make impact by sharing a little bit of my story and then where we can go as a community from here. So let me figure out how to use slides, which is always a challenge. I also want to say that this is unscripted for me, even though I have a lot of pictures, because I have not given the talk that I'm about to give before, and maybe some folks in the room here, the virtual room, have seen some Project 15 talks, but this one is new, so we'll see how it goes. But Project 15 from Microsoft, if you don't know, was a project that I started almost exactly 3 years ago from tomorrow. We launched in the IoT in Action tour in, I think it was Santa Clara, down near San Jose, 3 years ago, with an idea that folks like myself, yourself, if you're from the technical community, could help those from the conservation or scientific community go faster. And that was really how we started, with one hypothesis that we could help them. And everything I'm going to share today comes from this picture. This is my napkin drawing, if you will. And this picture happened because at the time I was a very, commercial IoT data solution architect working on smart buildings, safety solutions, you name it. I've done those kinds of data and then IoT solutions in my past, but never conservation. And so what I realized was a safety solution applied to this realm. And that aha moment came when I met Eric Dinerstein. And when I met Dr. Dinerstein, he was doing a camera trap solution through his NGO called Resolve, called TrailGuard. And he became my mentor for a number of months. So you'll see that this says April of 2019. And in October was when we went to market, if you will, with our first video that I know many of you have seen and supported. So a little more about Eric than what you learn in the video is that he's actually, if you're going to have a mentor in this area, he happens to be a really good one to have. And before I met him through his camera trap solution, I was unaware of what he had done in his career, not unlike many of us who have done side projects, or maybe you didn't know I did some stuff in nutrition once till today. So for context, Eric was who put the first radio collar on a rhino. She's okay, she's just sedated, to monitor her. And when he shared this picture with me, he said, "You will notice the elephants are in the background looking to see what's going on here." So this is how it started. We got our first booth. I've just recently met some people that actually saw this booth at Inspire, which was in 2019. And so now we're 3 months before the first video that you may know. And it started with toy animals and a camera that we worked with our partner Intel to get this over the line and start talking to people about how can we help. And that's it. That's how we started. And today you're going to get to hear a little more of this story and also meet some people in the panel after this keynote where you can really see that we are needed. We do need to aggregate around this and get this over the line for the earth and the people who work very hard to save the earth and help us. So this was where the first video was. For those of you who don't know, you can find it at aka.ms/project15. And this is the part where I show you some more behind the scenes footage. So we were filming back in the day. This is Lucas Joppa, who's in the video. And, this is how I learned why you thank your director and you thank your producer, because without Devin and Hannah's help and the whole team at Contend that produced that video, we would not have the story come out how it did to communicate that we're here. And so we started with a web page. I don't know if you remember this, but we had a web page at the time. This no longer exists, just so don't try to find it. We had our first friends of Project 15 on our web page, and I wanted to call them out because many of them are tech communities, including Avnet, that were with us in the beginning because we really, really believed that we could help and that this might work. And we didn't know if anyone would catch the ball when we threw this out there. We had no idea if this would resonate. We were hopeful because it resonated with Eric and he helped. And then Lucas said, that sounds like a great idea, but we weren't sure. But 3 months later, we did get an email from the Red Panda Network in Sonam. This is Sonam, and this is a really interesting organization. And one of the magical things that has happened in the last 3 years of my life is that I have been able to use my platform, which is mostly technical, talking about data, etc., to start to shine a spotlight on some of the organizations that are working to preserve our, keystone species and all the species on Earth. And so Sonam is doing incredible work with the Red Panda. Within a year, we were in the annual report for the United Nations Development Program. And one question I get a lot, especially from folks like yourselves, is how did you do this in your spare time? And how did you go that far that fast? And really, this was a story about architecting for scale. And it's really a story to just talk about the impact that connecting the dots can really have for anyone. You could have a problem you're trying to solve, but until you find that correct developer that knows how to do it, they may not know how to do what you do. But if you can just explain your use case, you just go super far. And we've all seen that in probably our day jobs. Same story happened here. And so when we started to partner with the UNDP, we were partnering with Yoko Watanabe, who runs a group called the GEF Small Grants Program, which is implemented by the United Nations Development Program. And you're going to meet Yoko in the next session and what her organization does, but I'll give you a high-level summary. So they work in 128 countries. It is vast. It is a lot of projects. And when it was just Daisuke and myself, and the idea of this really resonates with us, can you help us scale? We kind of looked back, looked at each other and went, well, we can try. And so we started going and talking at other events, not unlike what I'm doing here, of course, but we started going into the events that are in Yoko's community and talking to people about how can technologists like ourselves help you? What are the problems you need to solve? Last year on Labor Day, I was my day off. I showed up with someone from my Project 15 ecosystem, who's Kate Gilman-Williams, and many of you might know her from the second video for Project 15. She's the CEO of Kids Can Save Animals. And the whole theme of this talk was around partnering with the private sector coming from the public sector. And so the whole theme of my talk is the same, but from our perspective. How do we partner with the public sector? And what I started to do is take notes. And one of the things that, I had noticed right away was the pit of financial despair. And this was the first spirit of the first video. This was the problem that we set off to solve, to say, are you using grant money to redesign and redevelop wheels that we, the commercial developers, already have? But I started to notice other use cases of why projects fail or stall or wind up on a shelf, or perhaps they're just a great idea research paper that somebody needs to pick up and go further with. And so the catch-22, lots of data scientists, lots of amazing ML, but doesn't know how to do that plumbing, that infrastructure plumbing for IoT. And that was the second problem we were then trying to solve. How do you push those models back and forth to new devices, get more data? Maybe you are a maker in the conservation community. We started to meet many makers in the conservation community who had devices that they had done, but didn't know how to do a full-blown cloud-based solution. Maybe somebody feels they're a small fish. They're not able to get a grant yet. They need to make that POC. And so they don't have the tools or know where to find the tools to go and do that faster. And so that was something that we wanted to help with. And then there's this problem of being a showcase. You know, did somebody use this project to just kind of show, you know, sustainability goals or something, and then it just didn't go any further because nobody picked it up or something. And then the myopic build. And this is, how do I scale it? How do I turn something that could be a bigger business model into, you know, into that business model instead of having it be smaller? And how do I get the help and partners to come help me do that? And this slide actually, at Microsoft, in my work with IoT, there is a version of this slide for commercial partners. This is, many of you probably, oh yeah, retail startup needs help, etc., resources, credits, whatever it is. We solve these problems all the time. So we did this as a first step. This is what we know how to do where I work. So Daisuke led the architecture and write-up of something that became known as the Project 15 Open Platform. It is a script that spins up in Azure, and we tried to write instructions for some of the smartest people we ever met to easily deploy it in less than 15 minutes as a goal. I believe it's at 10 minutes. So that was number one. If we could build the 80% of all the plumbing of every solution, because there really is not a big amount of difference between a connected car, a connected refrigerator, whatever you're doing, and a connected elephant or a connected, you know, something that's watching for plastics in the ocean. All of the middle part is the same. And so to do that would be to accelerate the timeline of getting these solutions to market. This is what it looks like if you're a little more technical, and you'll notice at the top, digital twins. We lit up Azure Digital Twins as soon as that became graph enabled, and I'll explain in a minute why that was something that immediately I said, hey, can we light that up? And Daisuke did. So if you're looking for an Azure Digital Twins, Azure IoT architecture, even for commercial solutions, you just click, yes, I would like ADT version. So then we did the next thing that we do all the time at Microsoft, because partners do really make more possible. We partnered for scale. And when you start to think, oh, spoiler alert. All right, so when you start to think about, you know, you've got your IoT sort of infrastructure, it's happening, you know, Azure IoT, and then you've got this ML layer. And at the time, and now, well, Edge Impulse, that is a fantastic platform. So let's figure out how to integrate our open platform, which is Azure IoT, with Edge Impulse. And we spent last summer doing this with a developer, Sarah Olson, who is now at Edge Impulse. And this was an incredible project. So if you're looking to do Edge Impulse plus Azure IoT, that is where you can find it on our open platform repo. Next, one of the problems we identified early was that in the commercial zone, we have plug and play, we have Azure certified devices, we get to scale by making solutions faster. And it was at this point, it was at March last year, that Eric and the team at Seed Studio showed up and said, how can we help? How can we create global, you know, distributed devices that can help people do sustainability and conservation based solutions? And so when Seed shows up, I know a lot of you watching have been part of this global hackathon, and I'm really excited to learn the winners in a little while today. But this is key, because if we want to really get to scale, people need access to the devices to get those solutions out there. And so this was an important step as we start to move towards what I am calling the industry of conservation. And however, there is an inconvenient truth to the Project 15 open platform. I will tell anyone who asks, Daisuke will tell anyone who asks that we are not app designers. And when we went and put this out in the world, we would tell people that it would be easier to find an app designer than it would be to find an IoT developer, especially during 2020 and onwards, because IoT developers were very, very busy with connected solutions, especially in the pandemic, as we know. And this is actually not exactly true. In the commercial space, we have the App Gap Challenge. And many of you may be involved, with this in your professional day job careers, or if you're from a conservation background, you may have noticed that there are not a lot of developers for the amount of need. And so the answer to this has been low code, no code, and being able to do rapid development for people that don't have traditional computer science language, learning, and you can really get people enabled once you land the data into, a unified holistic layer for a business. And so our answer over here at Microsoft is the Microsoft Power Platform. And I'm not going to double click too much into this. There's a lot to learn if you don't know about this. So much to learn that it should be very exciting for you if you've been looking, how do I make bots or virtual agents as they're called now? But there are built-in connectors on that platform to start bringing in all sorts of data sources. And so when we started to look at the power of Power Platform, now that was not a pun intended, but here it is. You start to see collab apps over on the right. How do I bring notifications into Teams? How do we get this out and democratize development from the traditional developers who we are very, very busy to all developers that can be enabled to do more? And so I'm very happy to announce that we will be adding, it's in the process right now, the Microsoft Power Platform will be, instructions how to integrate and the hooks that you need to be able to use the Project 15 Open Platform with Power Platform. And then, of course, that will connect the entire Azure ecosystem as you are developing your solutions. And hopefully, if you're like me and you don't make pretty apps, this then helps you get over that last hurdle. One more thing before I leave the open platform announcements. We have the planetary computer, which many of you are probably in the data catalog if you're coming, especially if you're coming from the data science side or, had been involved with AI for Earth or other programs like that. So we are working with our newest developer who's with Daisuke now. Her name is Linda. And Linda Nichols is creating a connector, which we will release through the open platform on GitHub. So stay tuned for that. We didn't land it right away for this because we have Ignite going on, but give us a few days and that's going on too. So I hope that helps anyone who needs to get their solution into the world. And so my answer when people ask me, why did you do this? Or why do you do this? And sometimes I say, well, it's another cup of coffee for the earth. But something else that I also say is that everyone has hobbies. In most industries now, if you squint, you may see lots of people that are doing one thing in their day job, but they're bringing their passions through through that day job to talk about something else as well. And there's actually a huge community of people that I didn't find Wild Labs until I did Project 15. But what sort of, I felt like Christopher Columbus, like I am arriving and you are already here. So when I found Wild Labs, I thought, wow, this is fantastic. And so, as you know, on the panel, we will also be talking with Stephanie, who is the community manager. And, I don't even know, she's just like the connection guru of Wild Labs and getting projects and passions and technologists and scientists kind of in the same place and also enablement. It's incredible what's going on over there. There are also people, and you're going to meet somebody else who's very fascinating that I've met on this journey. The Internet of Elephants is an app that you're going to learn is even more interesting than you maybe thought if you've heard about it, because this really shows how to get partnerships to the next level. And you're going to meet Gautam, who's going to talk about his journey into Internet of Elephants, where he comes from, and how he moved from the career that he had into this world where this is super interesting, and I'm really excited for you to meet him. So that said, I have made a lot of friends in Project 15 from Microsoft, and when I was talking to the IDC who wrote up a Tech for Good article on Project 15 and some of our partnerships, I really said sometimes I feel like this project becomes more of a social networking exercise, because if you come with a question or a problem, it's really who can I introduce you to get it done. And so the friends of Project 15, you saw the first friends, these are some new friends, and there's more friends that these folks have either taken time to teach me, myself, Daisuke, some folks doing it on the Microsoft side, or we've helped them with solutions, or we've been able to coordinate sort of global hackathons, not unlike what you're seeing with the Hackster Global Hackathon with Seed right now. But how it works, and this is when I mentioned, we all have day jobs, is Leonardo DiCaprio is working in the movies, as he does, right? But he's also the founding board member of Rewild. And Cate Blanchett is actually a founding member of the Earthshot Prize Council. And that is led by the Royal Foundation. Zambezi Partners, who you may know because of the second video and Platform Zero, partnered with Project 15 in the beginning. But they produced a fundraiser called Endangered Rangers in 2020. It's December. I remember I had a broken ankle and I was watching it. But that's still online if you're interested. And that's where I met Kate, through that program. And when she saw my bit and I saw her bit, I went, wow, she's written a book. And she went, wow, she's got a technological platform that can accelerate. I want to meet her. And so we partnered together to do Club 15. But more recently, she's partnered with Rewild because a local artist in Austin has written a song about children doing remarkable things. And Kate's Kids Can Save Animals is one of the songs. And every time somebody downloads the song, a donation is made to Rewild. And what you wind up with is a giant community that looks like a social graph. And I love graphs. Actually, I invented one once for nutrition. And so when you start to think about the first video and that we lose one elephant from the planet every 15 minutes, we lose one rhino every 8 hours. We lose one pangolin every 5 minutes. And to say we lose them is wrong, they're hunted. And so more recently, I started focusing on applying graph theory to sustainability and conservation. And can we solve this? Because the longer this takes, the more we lose. My mentor on this adventure is somebody named Kirk Arthur, who I work with at Microsoft. And as we all had previous careers, Kirk Arthur was in the Secret Service. And when I wanted to learn about the justice side of preservation and conservation, he is one of my lead mentors to teach me about that, because there's two sides to this story. There's the protected areas, and we talk a lot about that. And then there is illegal wildlife trafficking. And so most recently, this is what I work on. And this is another question I would get, because it's another area of impact to bring what I knew from another domain into conservation and assist those that are deep experts in this area, because it's complicated. And for those of you, I'm going to just kind of do a primer on graphs before we shift into the panel discussion, because if you're not familiar with graphs, except for maybe the social graph, which I showed with the movie, but also, you're on them all the time. LinkedIn, Facebook, all of those social graphs are very well known to people. Graph databases are very, very interesting, at least to me, because they are a data structure that is relationship first. And if you have disparate data sets and silos, they help you connect those dots to bring in different information due to the relationships between them versus a query that's going to fall over because it doesn't even make sense that someone would like avocados and then be at Burning Man 6 years ago, and then somebody else was at Burning Man and now they're being suggested as a friend. Like, so graphs are really, really interesting if you want to get into them if you're not already. So this is what a usual like caller sends alert type IoT solution looks like. But with a graph, it is an elephant who is wearing the collar. And once you have removed the collar as the main entity, and now you have the animal with the collar, you can start to put data around the elephant and the animal itself and its DNA, because the animal may leave the planet, but the DNA will go with the tusk. And it is that piece of evidence that will show up somewhere else. And so last year, we worked in our company hackathon to create the advanced wildlife management graph. And so something like this, which you can enable through a platform such as Azure Digital Twins, starts to create more advanced systems. And I'm just going to walk through it, because when you look at the other side, this is how we can try to start connecting these dots and start to reverse and bring justice to these animals that are suffering from trafficking. So that is some of the work I've been doing more recently, but really it just starts with, what can I do? Can you take 15 minutes just to think about it? What can you do to bring impact in any topic you're interested in? We've got plastics in the oceans, we've got air that is polluted, we've got so much going on, and anything you can bring to the table is going to be helpful. And that was really all I really wanted to bring to you today, is to say, first of all, this is my last Project 15 talk, because essentially I'm going to focus on some other things, but it's still there and it's an enablement tool for all of you to use. And I just look forward to what you will invent. And although no one ever brought it up to me, this is goal 15. Project 15 is goal 15, and goal 15 is part of many, many other goals. And with any industry we have, it takes a network, a community of companies, of partners to stitch together these solutions that bring the success that we see in our industries. And for our scientific developers, for our use cases that are scientific or conservation, it's the same. And it will take us to build the industry of conservation to really bring the funding, the attention, and our time. So that is what I hope for, is that this will become an industry for us to lead, we already are, and to center around and bring these solutions and land them for our conservation friends, because it's going to come for us also. And that is my talk.
Amazing. Thank you, Sarah, so much. Wow. It's so much easier to understand when you have the visuals and all of the graphs relating to each other, because just hearing the stories and watching the videos is inspirational, but then seeing the networks of how they're all interconnected. I think everyone's going to enjoy our next panel Sarah's leading. So why don't we hop over to that session and we'll bring in all of our panelists. For all of you tuning in, make sure you leave this session, go back to the session lobby and click on the next session, and Sarah and I will meet you over there. Thank you.